Hello again, Chris Lee and Chase Robinson of Southeastern 16 here to do SEC football power rankings heading into week 10. As always, we start at the bottom. Chase, Mississippi State, once again, number 16. The Bulldogs gave up, 670 yards-ish over the weekend and got destroyed at home by Arkansas. State stays at 16.
Yeah, not really surprised there. We know they've been struggling defensively. They did so again this week, and it's a team you'd like to see maybe get a conference win and get some confidence. They've been playing better as of late, but still struggling. So therefore, still they're at the bottom of our list.
Number 15, I cannot believe this, but this is where they are, and it's deserved. Kentucky, after beating Ole Miss a few weeks ago, has just gone in a complete nosedive. I don't know what's going on with the offense. The defense just gave up 280 yards or whatever it was to Jarquez Hunter. I don't know if Kentucky's quit, but you look at some things and you wonder, and they just cannot figure offense out.
Yeah, it sure looks like sometimes they have. Yeah, this is not what we thought. And we even thought, hey, after the Ole Miss win for Kentucky, after they kept it close against Georgia, like this team could be legit, but they're not playing like it whatsoever. And they find themselves towards the bottom of the list, this list as well. Just really surprising from what I'm seeing from Kentucky right now.
I had as one of my preseason surprise teams, and boy, they've just been bad. And maybe they ought to play all their games away from home at this point. Who knows? They cannot win in their own field. Number 14, Auburn leaps Kentucky by virtue of winning. Hey, did the Tigers have a little bit of a resurgence? They found Jarquez Hunter. We've been begging them to do that all year. He has the best game of his life probably against a run defense that had been super solid. Interesting matchup ahead with Auburn and Vandy this week.
Yeah, I thought that was good for Auburn to get a win in SEC play. Yeah, Jarquez Hunter carried the ball 23 times out of the backfield, so that was good for Auburn. They gave him way more touches than he has as of late, and so it showed. They were able to get something going offensively. So sometimes all it takes is one win to kind of get you rolling a little bit. We'll see if Auburn responds that way, but certainly good to see them get a win in conference play Saturday.
Number 13, Oklahoma. I'll still give Oklahoma more of an incomplete than I do a ranking, given the injuries, but showed up respectably at Ole Miss.
Yeah, I was keeping up with that game and was impressed. They were keeping it close through some of it there. Ole Miss still very good, and they couldn't quite keep up with the weapons that they have. But, yeah, Oklahoma's been in a tough spot all season, just the injuries. You don't see that many injuries for one team like we've seen from Oklahoma a lot this season, but they've been in a tough spot, and you're right. You almost want to just give them an incomplete, but they're trying to make some changes. They're trying to get things going back the way they want them, but it's hard to do that when you have the amount of guys that they have out at this point.
All right, coming up at 12, sometimes you have a beef with the work we put together. I think we do great work. I think we do our research. I got a problem with this one. South Carolina should be higher than 12, but that's where the staff voted the Gamecocks. Maybe we're a little biased towards offense. I don't know, where they cannot seem to find it consistently. But, boy, that defense is something else. They force turnovers. And I think this matchup this weekend with A&M is going to go down to the wire potentially.
I think you could too. And with South Carolina, they're one of those teams that's hard to know where to put them because they've been up, they've been down, and they've been in between. And so, for South Carolina, they have more chances to prove themselves. And like you said, this game with A&M will certainly do that. They have a big chance to prove themselves and kind of where they're at and what they could do this week in this game. But South Carolina, again, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. They need more consistency offensively. If they do that, then we're talking about a different team here because their defense, like you mentioned, is playing fantastic right now. So if they're consistent on offense, they could rattle out some wins here late in the season, and we'll definitely see them move up.
Florida checks in as a dangerous 11. Let's recap the Gators last month. A win at Mississippi State on September 21st. Bye week since then. Beat UCF, lost in overtime at Tennessee, and throttled Kentucky, and now an off week before Georgia. Interesting to see what Billy Napier does, what DJ Lagway does with a couple of weeks more as the number one guy. I think Florida's not a team you want any part of right now.
Yeah, they're playing confident, and I think that's what they have to do. I mean, I think a lot of people have written them off early in the season, but I think it's not wise to do that because they are playing with an edge. They are playing with some confidence right now. They see that, hey, we can do this. We can play with anybody at this point. And I think you get a big win over Kentucky. I think that does nothing but give you more confidence. And they've had an extra week to put in some work there for their rivalry game with Georgia, as has the Bulldogs. But I think Florida is in a good position right now to finish the season strong.
All right, I got another beef coming up, what we did next. Before I get there, reminder, we're brought to you by BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything sports betting. Every stat, matchup breakdown, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games, with the largest catalog of odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL, NBA to political props. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one over 150 slots games. Head to the website today. Get in on all the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. Number 11, I should say Arkansas. It says Alabama, wrong A word. Anyway, Arkansas is coming in at number 10, and I got to beef with that, Chase. I just think they've been playing better than that.
Yeah, Arkansas. I mean, they did get a good win over Mississippi State. There's still a lot of inconsistencies though with this team. Like, we saw some. There's been some plays that have turned games sideways. Games they should have won, should have, could have, would have won, so I think they are playing good right now, but when you look at kind of the overall picture, it's just been pretty inconsistent for Arkansas.
Yeah.
But I do like them down the stretch.
If you want to beef with them a little bit, it feels like they've done some damage against bad defenses that maybe hasn't carried over to the better defenses. But I think when you look at the defensive stats, I think that's kind of an everybody issue in some ways. I mean, you've seen some teams that have really been brought down to earth, Tennessee being one of those offensively. So I don't know. Maybe we're picking nits here with Arkansas. I probably would have ranked them ahead of our 9 team, which is Missouri. I fear there's been some rumblings that maybe Brady Cook is done. I think he broke his hand. He had an Achilles or a foot injury or something last week. They're not going to get in the playoffs as a 2-loss team, I don't think. I just don't think there's enough good wins potentially ahead to move anybody's needle. I don't know that we'll have Missouri higher than this the rest of the year, Chase.
Yeah, I mean, that loss definitely hurt them to Alabama and their playoff chances, that's for sure. I still think, with the schedule they have remaining with Oklahoma, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Arkansas, I think they could definitely get some good wins in there. So I'm not going to count them out as, dropping the next few, but they're going to have to work through some things offensively if these injuries persist there for the Tigers.
Number 8, the Vanderbilt Commodores, who played Texas to the wire this weekend. You get an onside kick, you've got a chance at another shocking upset. This time the defense kind of led the way. Texas's defense kind of figured out Diego Pavia more than anyone else has had, and Vanderbilt's defense in the second half was really good. Sacked Quinn Ewers a few times and really held Texas's offense down second half. Watch out for these guys. I think Pavia, if they can keep him healthy, will return to form, and their defense is starting to play a lot better. So if Vanderbilt can put it together on both sides of the ball, this can be a dangerous team.
I think so too, and I agree with you. I was really impressed with Vanderbilt's defense in keeping up with that game. Just watching it kind of seemed like they put Texas's offense in a position that they really haven't seen much this season. We saw against Georgia, the offense really couldn't find their form, but I feel like Vanderbilt did similar things and just got them off balance and made them make quick decisions and things like that. So yeah, credit Vandy's defense. They stepped up ready to play against a really good offense in Texas.
All right, number 7, Ole Miss. Now this is interesting. The power rankings that I keep, which are a compilation of other ones, and I don't necessarily endorse those as this is the end-all be-all. They're just what the computers say. Computers I respect. they've got Ole Miss number 5 nationally. We've got them 7 in our power rankings. I think we're closer to right. I think Ole Miss has done a lot of damage against some bad teams. That offense has really been slowed down between injuries and other defenses. Still, this is a dangerous team. If you trust the computers, still very much a legitimate national title contender. And look, Ole Miss could run the table and win out. That's not out of the realm of possibility. And if they get one of those wins, one of those is going to be against Georgia. At that point, 10-2, beat Georgia, you're probably in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're in a good situation right now. Yeah, you keep winning, you're going to find yourself, in the playoffs. Like they're a legitimate contender. They a lot of good players out there. I thought they did a good job kind of sealing the deal on Oklahoma when Oklahoma was challenging them at times. Ole Miss didn't fold; they kept fighting, and they ended up winning that game. And so I think that says a lot about Ole Miss. They're in it to win it, and again, yeah, I think they're a legit contender, and they keep winning. They're going to prove that.
Number 6 LSU, the Tigers dropped, I think, about 3 spots since last week. Didn't look great. The second half, the wheels kind of came off. They got to Garrett Nussmeier a little bit, did Texas A&M. Marcel Reed just lit LSU's defense up. That was a little bit of a comeback to earth game for the Tigers. But, hey, again, like Ole Miss, you run the table, I think you still make the playoff.
Right, and the next game out for them is going to be very important against Alabama. LSU there with 2 losses. So yeah, if you run the table, you're going to get in the playoff most likely. But yeah, I think LSU, that was a tough loss in a game they kind of took control to start with, and they were trying to set their tone and just couldn't against A&M in a tough place to play, and didn't have a good second half. They couldn't finish that game. And so I think that's what they're going to be honing in on is, hey, if we start well, we've got to finish well. They just didn't do that against A&M, but still a very good team and very dangerous for the rest of the way out.
Not out of the realm of possibility that we see an A&M LSU rematch in the title game.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, I mean, and that would be fun to see them play again. But, yeah, if LSU keeps rolling, we definitely could.
All right, very interesting how we sorted out the top 5. I'll get there in a minute, but just a quick reminder, you can see it in my background, the Future Fans Kit. I've been telling you a lot about them lately. The way they help little kids become big fans by understanding football is just so cool. And, man, I've heard the stories from dads. This product is fantastic. If you've ever tried to explain football to a little kid, you know how hard that is. The dads who wanted to explain football to their kids figured it out for the rest of us with Future Fans. It is the easy button for getting your kid to watch the game with you on Saturday. Again, I've talked to multiple fathers that have given me amazing experiences with how they did that. They make kits for other sports. Give it a week or 2 with this. Your kid will be asking you to watch football with them. That's actually happened. I've heard parents that have kids who weren't interested in football like, Dad, come watch the game with me now. Go to futurefans.com right now. It's $49.99, I think, is the price. Use the code SEC. You'll get 10% off that. That is the best $50 you'll spend all year. Trust me on that. Futurefans.com. Use the promo code SEC to get your discount. Help out the folks who help our show. All right, number 5, Alabama. The Crimson Tide with a very impressive waxing Missouri. Knocked Brady Cook out of the game. I mean, I don't think having Alabama pitch a shutout was on the bingo card. But, boy, if that is the Crimson Tide defense, Chase, we get going forward, look out. That team is very much going to be a factor in the playoff race.
Yeah, I think that was the best we've seen Alabama play this year, especially defensively. Again, anytime you get a shutout in the SEC, that's big. I thought the offense played well. Also, a little bit of a slow start. They had some missed opportunities there at the beginning, had to kick a couple field goals. They were moving the ball, but then just couldn't finish drives. They did get points out of them again, though, with field goals. But I feel like maybe a slow start offensively, but they picked it up, and I thought they finished well. So, yeah, I thought that was one of the best performances we've seen from Alabama. And if we see more of that, like you said, Chris, this could be a dangerous Alabama team as well. Like, they're going to win some games. And again, that matchup in a couple of weeks with LSU, who's right behind them there in our power rankings, is it's going to be fun. And that's going to be a game that could make or break a season for both teams, really, when you look at it, two lost teams. But this Alabama team, I feel like, is is understanding that their back's against the wall, and I feel like they played that way Saturday.
Yeah, Alabama number 3 nationally in my composite power rankings again, which are not mine, but they're just computers that I trust to put together. All right, number 4, Tennessee. Vols really weren't going anywhere with a week off. And a matchup against Kentucky this week. Look, Tennessee's big game ahead is that Georgia game in a couple of weeks. And maybe at Vandy. Vandy's really good at home. But Vols got their eyes on the playoff, and that Kentucky matchup probably a little easier than we would have had pegged maybe a month ago.
Yeah, defensively, a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, well, they may make Nico do some tough things. I just, I don't know what this matchup holds right now, but yeah, Tennessee, I think, you win games, you're in a good spot, but they don't need to take Kentucky lightly by any means, because they're a team that we have seen sneak up on some teams, but I think Tennessee is in a good spot, especially after that big Alabama win.
All right, Texas A&M, number 1 in the SEC standings, number 3 in our power rankings. The Aggies still have not lost a game since that close opening night loss to Notre Dame. Just were very, very, very impressive in beating LSU. And frankly, I think there's an argument you can move them up a spot, maybe even 2.
Yeah, they're out to prove something this year. I'm impressed with Mike Elko and A&M. What they did Saturday night against LSU, the second half they put together was terrific, and I think that they're starting to find themselves, figure things out to the point where watch out for them down the stretch here. I mean, you look at what they have left, and this is they got some tough games coming up, but South Carolina, they do have New Mexico State, then at Auburn, tough place to play, and then they finish up at home with Texas. And so, if you're A&M, you're in a great position, not having lost the conference game yet, obviously. But I think they're just playing so good a football right now that it's hard to think that they wouldn't be a representative in the SEC championship. I mean, I feel like they're just clicking right now. As long as they keep this rolling. Like they're going to do some damage. Watch out for the Aggies.
All right, saw Texas up close in person this weekend from the press box in Nashville. Man, they were out without Makuba and Isaiah Bond and some other guys. And I know they beat Vanderbilt by a field goal. That's not going to open a lot of eyes. But I just was so impressed with how physical and athletic they are on defense, Chase. We talked about their depth all season long. I didn't come away thinking any less of the Longhorns, and I think I don't know who wins it all, but it might be Texas.
It very well could. You're right. Their defense is good, and Steve Sarkisian, the offensive mind, we've said it before, he did a great job of the offseason getting some defensive pieces in there to make a complete team, and I feel like it's what Texas is. They are one of the complete teams in the country in college football because they get it done offensively and defensively as well. But yeah, just always impressed with what Texas puts out. Even again, they were challenged in Nashville Saturday night, and they still came out on top. They made the plays they needed to down the stretch to seal the deal. And yeah, Texas is they're solid.
Georgia remains your number 1 team in the country, or excuse me, in the conference, not the country. After a bye week, Georgia's remaining games, boy, there's about 1 pass out here on Florida, neutral site, at Ole Miss, Tennessee, UMass, Georgia Tech rivalry game. If Georgia runs the table from here on out, I don't know. Could be the 1 seed over any unbeaten anywhere else with who they will have beaten.
Yeah, this is Georgia is again after that big win over Texas, I feel like it's solidified. Hey, this team is there for real. They haven't gone anywhere. They did lose to Alabama, but I think Georgia's in a good spot, even with the tough games that they have coming up on their schedule. And again, we mentioned the Florida game. I mean, that's a rivalry game, neutral site. Georgia's had the edge in the series, but I feel like with the tough games looming for Georgia, you think of what's to come with Ole Miss the following week, with Tennessee coming up. Like this is tough. Like, Georgia's going to have to really put the pedal to the metal here, keep focused, and because this is a tough stretch over the next 3 games, really, including the Florida rivalry game. That I think Georgia needs to be completely ready and focused on these games.
No doubt about it. Well, we'll be ready and focused on the rest of the season. We'll be talking playoffs later this week. We'll be covering basketball. Gosh, basketball season starts in a week, Chase. Hard to believe, but that'll be here. We're going to have some live streams coming up before the season, I think. And we do even weekly baseball content in the offseason. Best way to get that, hit that subscribe button, enable your notifications so you'll know when we produce content. And Caroline.Smith at Southeastern14.com. We reach millions of people a year with all of our content. For Chase Robinson, I'm Chris Lee. You've been watching Southeastern 16 presented by BetOnline.